University hospitals in Cleveland notified 700 plus women that their 2,000 eggs and embryos stored at the fertility center were compromised.
We don't know the reasons why yet, but we do know that the temperature that was measured at a portion of the tank was higher than our acceptable limits.
Nikki Schaefer, also a patient there but unaffected by the lab malfunction, decided to donate her last 4 remaining embryos. She shared her decision on Facebook and inspired dozens of other women to do the same. I spoke with her today to find out what inspired her.
If anyone walks by my office, it's gonna look very weird to them, but okay.
Nikki, thank you so much for agreeing to speak with me. Your Facebook post went viral and it has sparked more than just inspiration. In many ways, it sparked action. Can you tell me a little bit about the responses you've gotten since you shared your decision?
It has blown me away. I've heard from women all over the country and all over the world who want to donate their eggs and embryos, and I've been able to put them in contact directly with university hospitals. I was contacted by someone in Portugal. I'm not exactly sure about the logistics of getting Portuguese embryos here, but I'm sure we can make it happen.
What inspired you to want to give the greatest gift we could ask for?
So I started trying to get pregnant in 2007. And then started fertility treatments in 2008 and was lucky enough to get pregnant that same year through IVF. I knew I wasn't going to have more children. I had a healthy boy and a girl. I work full time. I joke that I'm like barely a good enough mother to the 2 of them, but like 3 kids was not in the cards for us. And when I heard about what happened, I immediately thought of Dr. Goldfarb and his colleagues, of the patients that I knew had eggs and embryos there, and then of my own embryos that I had to give. And it just felt like this perfect storm of events that the decision basically fell in our lap.
It does raise questions about accountability in this industry, and it's not really regulated. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts on those components of this story, and do you think it should be?
What's interesting is that this is the first incident of its kind that I've ever heard of, and then it happened in 2 places on opposite sides of the country on the same day. A well-run lab is really key to the good functioning of a fertility center. Every patient is at the whim of what could happen in that lab.
I think that's a healthy reminder for all of us as we sort of think through this. What were some of the sort of fears holding you back from doing this before now?
The thought of giving them up for another family to have as their children, I wonder if I will feel like there's a part of me out there that isn't mine.
These are embryos, so they do share you and your husband's DNA. Is he grappling with similar issues?
I think all of this has sort of been, what am I most comfortable with? And he has always tended to support that.
Do you plan on having these conversations with your kids?
I've been very open with them about being the product of fertility treatment. They're only 6 and 8, so they can only really understand it to an extent. We have told my daughter that she was a frozen embryo, and she's always hot. And she jokes that she's never cold because she spent the first 3 months of her life in a freezer. My son, who's 8, he's going to be 9 in a couple weeks. He ran into his buddy and he said, "My mommy gave a bunch of frozen embryos to frozen babies that died in a freezer." They kind of get it. They don't really get it. But I think that they get that doing something nice for people in a time when they're down is a good thing, and it makes everyone feel good.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
You were very thorough.
I'm from the doc world, so we're used to the long, we're used to the long game. And thank you for sharing your story and for inspiring so many.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for contacting me. And I feel like every time I do an interview or there is another story, it's like 3 to 5 other women end up contacting me, which is just awesome. So as long as I can keep this going, I will.
Have a good evening.
Thanks, you too.